Extreme weather conditions occasioned by global warming no doubt have impact on human health. Now, have you been feeling the heat? In the weather? Cerebrospinal meningitis, CSM, is one of those diseases associated with hot weather. Hello and thanks for joining us on another episode of Health Options. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, standing in for your regular anchor, Rabi Abdullah. Meningitis is a chronic inflammation of the protective membrane covering the brain and spinal cord, caused by a variety of organisms such as bacteria, viruses, among others, with symptoms ranging from fever, nausea, neck stiffness, among others. Meningitis is an epidemic-prone disease, especially during the dry season, and Nigeria falls among the 26 countries in sub-Saharan Africa on the African meningitis belt. So, we reported outbreak of meningitis in neighboring Niger Republic, which shares border with some state in Nigeria. Is there a cause for alarm? We shall take a look at these and other ailments associated with hot weather and how to guide against them. I will be joined by an official of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, who will take us through on the discussion segment. If you are just joining us, this is Health Option. Our focus is on ailments associated with hot weather and how to guide against them. I have with me a senior scientific officer from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Farida Munir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so now the weather is still hot now. Take us through what are those ailments associated with this weather?
With the heat and the Sahara winds from the Sahara Desert causing the Hamatan season, there's poor air quality, irritation in the nasal pharynx, in the linings in the throat and the nose, which can lead to infection. Now, this primary infection will usually seep through the bloodstream, and it goes to the meninges, which is a layer, a lining covering the brain and the spinal cord, which causes inflammation. Now, this pressure causes damage to the brain and the spinal cord, which brings on a series of unfortunate symptoms like severe headaches, photosensitivity, like being irritable towards light, also nausea.
We are talking about meningitis now. Has there been any reported cases? Because we've heard of neighboring Niger, like I mentioned in my introduction. Have we had any cases in recent time?
Yes, Niger Republic has had an outbreak for a while. So we were expecting that we would eventually cross borders and come into the northern states. We've had an outbreak since December in Jigawa State, but its numbers are declining now. However, Yobe State now is also having increasing numbers.
Okay, is there any likelihood that other states we see the outbreak too?
As the Nigeria's Public Health Institute, NCDC is responsible for detecting and responding to public health emergencies, including meningitis. So there is a national technical working group, a meningitis technical working group that is a multi-sectoral team of international organizations like World Health Organization, Doctors Without Borders, UNICEF, and Nigerian ministry departments and agencies. So this meningitis TWG, technical working group, they meet bi-monthly, and there's a constant surveillance of different cases all over the country. So as soon as we notice cases being more frequent, there's a certain alert threshold that is reached, an epidemic threshold. Then that is when the NCDC leads the rapid response team to the infected state in collaboration with the states and support these states in responding to this public health threat like meningitis.
Okay, so now it's an epidemic now. Is it contagious? What are those signs to watch out for in terms of the spread of this disease? What should people be watching out for?
Meningitis is it's a very rapid progressive disease. Once infected, it takes 3 to 7 days, less than 10 days, it runs its course. 1 out of 10 die if they don't get treatment. And with delayed treatment, people who survive from meningitis it's 1 out of 5 end up with a disability or some sort of long-term complications.
Okay, so do our health institutions have the capabilities, to handle such outbreaks now?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, NCDC is Nigeria's public health institute, and it does have the capacity to detect and respond to public health emergencies.
No, I mean, how our health institutions like hospitals, are they alert, on what to do in terms of an outbreak, since it's an epidemic? So like we've seen with COVID, it's a huge, it was a big situation. Are our hospitals alert on what to do in terms of an outbreak?
Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, NCDC has the capability to detect and respond to disease. In the detection, there are several surveillance systems in place. There's a SORMAS, which is an electronic platform. NCDC has surveillance officers, state surveillance officers in each state at the subnational level. They have, the states have disease notification officers. Now, these officials are responsible for reporting any case that's been reported to them to NCDC through the electronic platform. There is also SIT-aware, there's SPOT-aware, event-based surveillance, and incident-based surveillance. So as you can see, there are several surveillance systems that can pick up cases.
Are you working with other institutions, or is just NCDC?
Oh yeah, definitely. For instance, Nigerian Public Health Development Agency, they're in charge of the vaccination campaigns. We have Ministry of Environment, depending on what disease, it's a priority disease.
Is there a vaccine against meningitis?
NCDC has the capacity to detect and respond to public health threats, including meningitis. We have several surveillance systems. For instance, there's the SORMAS, which is an electronic platform. NCDC has state surveillance officers at the subnational level. The states have disease notification officers who are responsible for picking up these cases from clinicians and health facilities, and they report it on their digital platform that comes back to NCDC. There's also SIT-aware, SPOT-aware, event-based surveillance, and incident-based surveillance. So all these surveillance systems are out there to help detect cases. So once it's reported to NCDC, like I said, the TWG have periodic meetings. The technical working group has periodic meetings where they sit and they discuss and they analyze the cases that are happening. So whenever there's an alert threshold that's reached, or an epidemic threshold, then we kick into the response mode. And the response mode includes sending a rapid response team. NCDC staff, most of them are trained in rapid response, and so are state subnational. NCDC leads the training of RRT members at the subnational level. Each state has a rapid response team that will respond to public health threats, including meningitis.
Okay. So now, is it safe now to say that Nigeria is safe? There is no cause for alarm, like I mentioned earlier. Should we be worried?
Well, of course, because of technology, more organized coordination, numbers are going down compared to the past. Like for instance, in 1996, there were over 100,000 cases when we had the meningitis outbreak, about 10% case fatality ratio. And then in 2016, 2017, there was about I think 14,000 suspected cases. In 1996, there was over 100,000 suspected cases of meningitis and about 10% case fatality ratio, with about 10% case fatality ratio. In 2016, 2017, there was about 14,000 suspected cases within a short amount of time. And the present outbreak going on in Jigawa and Yobe State, numbers from October 2022 till date has been about 1,000 cases. Wow. And then 1% case fatality ratio. So you can see, probably because of the technology, quicker response, more coordinated response to the threat, the numbers have significantly reduced. And also, the main two pathogens or organisms, the bacteria that causes cerebrospinal meningitis, has been technically eradicated because of the Men-A vaccine and then the Haemophilus influenza vaccine that is part of the routine vaccination in Nigeria.
Okay, since we are talking about a vaccine now, that brings me to the next question. So we have a vaccine now against meningitis. What is the efficacy of this vaccine? Is it, are administering this vaccine, in hospitals, or how do people access this vaccine?
There is a routine vaccine which is free. Like I mentioned earlier, 2 organisms have already been basically eradicated from the population. Now currently, it's a different type of bacterial meningitis that is causing this outbreak. And the vaccine, because of logistics, it's pricey, globally has not been available for countries to purchase and use. However, as part of the response activities in Jigawa State, Nigeria writes a request to ICG, which is an international coordinating group for vaccines. It's very quick. Within a week after the request has been approved and everything, it gets sent. So there were targeted mass vaccine campaigns in Jigawa State that occurred about 2-3 weeks ago.
So are we likely to see the vaccine in other states now?
Meningitis has recently been classified as a priority disease to be reported to the IDSR. Once it's detected, it has to be reported. So recently, in 2021, World Health Organization launched a global roadmap to defeating meningitis by 2030. And part of the activities of that work plan is to make the conjugate vaccine that includes the type C meningitis causing epidemics right now, to include it in routine immunizations. Because of the whole logistics, costly global politics, it's not affordable right now. It's quite pricey. So part of the plan is to make that available at a cheaper rate and readily available for countries to purchase in routine.
So I now ask, are we likely to see the routine immunization soon in a health facility?
We hope so. We hope so. It's a global issue.
Okay.
So you probably will have to talk to someone from NTA to get more details about that.
Okay, we'll do that.
Earlier I mentioned about the significant progress in reduction of deaths of meningitis. And because we have 1,000 deaths right now, I'm not belittling, because one death is one death too many. So part of the global roadmap to defeating meningitis, it talks about readiness, it talks about preparedness, and also carries on outside of the health facility, the aftercare, the after effects of meningitis, because 1 out of 5 people who have meningitis end up with either cognitive disabilities because of the brain damage and the spinal cord damage, which can cause organ failure, learning difficulties. So this aftercare aspect of the global roadmap also looks at what we can do to make life easier for survivors of meningitis, and for those who lose family members, who lose their children and elderly people. There's also a bereavement plan that will help the mental health of these families and communities.
Now, on a final note now, what can people now, citizens now, what are those advice that people can take, you can give for people to guide against this disease?
Meningitis is transmitted through air droplets, yes. It's people cough it out, and someone inhales it, close prolonged contact, sharing utensils. So like any other infectious disease, hygiene is very important. Have respiratory hygiene. When you cough into your elbow. Wash your hands. Live in well-ventilated spaces, so to have better air quality. And then, of course, the best prevention is vaccinations, getting vaccinated. Because we can see with the routine vaccinations, already 2 organisms have virtually been eradicated from the population.
So people can just walk into health facilities and get vaccinated?
Oh yes, it's free. Apart from detecting and responding, NCDC also leads advocacy and risk communication, community engagement with communities, with schools, with religious leaders and traditional leaders. NCDC is also big on readiness. The NCDC has led the development of the National Epidemic Preparedness and Response Plan for Meningitis, and NCDC also led the development for states to have their own epidemic preparedness and response plans. So it's basically a workbook, a work plan that tells you what to do, how to prepare for an outbreak, and when it happens, what to do, and the activities that will stop the outbreak.
Okay, thank you very much for coming, Farida.
Thank you.
Curious about how government policies on healthcare are faring? Do you enjoy learning about wellness concept and the many options available? Then watch health options on the NTA.
Mr. President has led by example. Take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Somebody can say, hey, I woke up this morning, I felt some tingling in my hand, some weakness, my face was, I couldn't speak well. That's a warning stroke, and it shouldn't be ignored.
The carrots contains carotene. Tomatoes is a colored plant. It has carotene. Pepper has carotene.
50% of our diet should be green vegetables and fruits.
Join leading experts on both orthodox and alternative medicine for all the enlightenment you need for a healthier you.
Thanks for joining us on the program. I am Rabi Abdullah.
Allow these children to grow.
Yes.
Many of them, you have somebody 14, 15 going to the university. Where are you going?
Information technology is the future.
Hello, a warm welcome to you. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguela.
If you don't create that awareness and you don't bring the young minds to identify that there are benefits in astronomy.
We have had experiences through various leadership strata, bringing us to where we can...
Platform engages guests on topical issues for national interest.
We have cases like that. We all to protect children and also make parents realize that they have a primary responsibility.
Join us every Thursday at 2 p.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Cloves, as you know, is from the family of Mesticia, mostly grown in Nakula Island in the Indonesia, and the botanical name is Cystigum aromaticum. That's rheumaticum. It is widely grown, as I said, in Southeast Asia and some other locations, and it is obtained from an evergreen plant where the buds, which is what I'm showing you, these are the buds from where we obtain the clove after granulating the buds to get this powder. And in the kitchen, it finds a very good use. It's a kind of an international spice all over the world, even though it's from Indonesia. It has a lot of importance in terms of uses. It can keep hunger at bay. So for those who want to lose weight, it works there. It also helps to check the sugar within the body system of individuals. Basically, it has a lot of antioxidants. And anytime antioxidants are mentioned, you know the issue has to do with immune boosting properties, anti-inflammatory properties, antibiotic properties, antibacterial, antiviral. All these are loaded in this spice. And in my own lab, to be specific, when I was called upon, it is a spice I'm very, very familiar with because of its antioxidant property, as its anti-inflammatory properties. Anything that has a lot of antioxidant effect will be a thing of interest, because these are the kind of things we need to take plenty, either in form of tea or in our foods or in any form. If you come to the oil has far-reaching uses in its preventing decay in the teeth of various animals, including human beings. It has a lot of anti-cancer properties. We've been able to use it to treat and cure cancer of the colon, even in the respiratory issues, still related to COVID-19, because COVID is epicenter of the throat, has a lot to do with the respiratory system. This has a lot of anti-respiratory properties, and they are not quite expensive. These are things you find in your kitchen that you don't even know their uses. but it has far-reaching uses. Either use it in pepper soup, use it in soup, or any other form of uses, even in drinking pap and all that. This will find a great use. This is a very, very good medicinal spice, and been able to use it successfully in even treatment of asthma because of its respiratory effect. I use this. I can put it in my tea and take, can put it in akamu and take. Some people even spread it on rice and take. It works. And if there are issues with the teeth, you can make some warm water preparation with it, just like you gargle with salt water. You can also gargle with it. Well, the oil is quite effective. It's applied to the particular teeth that has a problem. Now that we've spoken at length, it's now important to advise our viewers that since you have, a lot of people may even have it in their kitchen, having ordered it at one time or the other, but not knowing what to do with it. So with this period of COVID-19, it's good to apply them in the ways I have mentioned, be it in akamu, be it in pepper soup, be it in even other soups you make for the benefit of the family, or even your tea. Anything that has antioxidant effects has strong immune boosting properties. Finally, the other aspect that we have not mentioned is its ability to cause sleep. At night, when some people use milk as the last thing on bed, it takes them to sleep. You can also have a tea of cloves in the night before bedtime, and it will quietly take you to sleep. So this is even better than taking Lexotan and other complicated synthetic medicines that may have afterwards effects. So you can see how important this herbal corner can become, because there are so many things you overlook, but whose benefits health-wise are very, very immense.
And this brings us to the end of this week's episode of Health Options. You can watch this edition and other episodes on our YouTube channel. Email us for your comments and contributions at healthoptions@nta.gov.ng. I am Salwa Khalil Ibrahim. Thanks for tuning in. Do stay safe and healthy.